Great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for coming today for the information seminar for the Toastmaster program in psychology. So before we start, I'd like to quickly introduce who we are. My name is Yuanwei Yao. I'm an assistant professor from the Department of Psychology. I'm also the acting director for this program. And today we also have Dr. Henry Wu. Yeah, Henry will. it's- Yeah, Henry will give us a mock lecture later to give you a general idea about how our courses are like. And we also have Miss Jenny Swan and Miss YT is outside. Yeah, so Jenny and YT, they are responsible for coordinating the program and for the communications between students and teachers. So they are very important. And today we have also invited one of our excellent alumni, Mr. Dicky Mock. Great. So this is a brief outline of the topics today, and I will briefly introduce our program, the study mode, the application procedure, and the career path, and followed by the mock lecture and the sharing session and the Q&A. So this is our program. You can find the link and the information on our departmental webpage. We actually have a long history. The original program has been established in 1978. The previous name is called Postgraduate Certificate in Psychology. And it turned into the current name in 2015 because we want it to be more consistent with other programs in our faculty. And we want to incorporate some new components to increase the teaching and learning experience. So it got a current name, Master of Social Sciences in Psychology. Yeah, so originally this program was designed for students without a psychology background, but has a bachelor degree and are interested in psychology. But now we also accept students with a background in psychology and want to gain more knowledge related to psychology and want to have more research experience. So now we accept both students with and without psychology backgrounds. And hopefully, after finishing this program, you will be able to get a solid understanding of knowledge in psychology. And also, you will be able to get some opportunity of doing research in different labs after getting into this program. And if you want to pursue some other programs in psychology or related fields, after finishing this program, you should be eligible to do so. For example, after finishing this program, you should be able to apply for the graduate membership of Hong Kong Psychological Society, and you will also be eligible to apply for example, our Toastmaster program in clinical psychology and our program in educational psychology. Both are very popular. Yeah, as I just mentioned, after finishing this program, you will be able to apply for the graduate membership of the Hong Kong Psychological Society. And this is their website. You can find more details from here. And yeah, we only list some like basic requirements. After finishing the program, you should be able to apply for the membership of the society. And as you can see, here are some courses for this program. We have 8 core courses, and those courses cover different major subfields in psychology, from like biological psychology, cognitive psychology, developmental, personality, and social psychology. So different topics. Yeah, and those topics are from like basic science to applied science. So it's quite diverse. And also you can see we really emphasize on research training because we have 2 research method courses, and Henry and I will be responsible for those 2 courses. In addition to the courses, because courses are only part of the program, actually, another advantage of doing this program is that you will have opportunity of doing research in different labs to get more research experience. So there are two options that you can choose. One is the empirical research dissertation project, which is a 1-year project, and you need to finish an empirical study for those projects. The other is called capstone research project. It's relatively easier, only requires 1 semester for finishing. And for doing a capstone project, you don't really have to do an empirical study. Normally, a research essay, like a literature review, should be sufficient. Okay. And also the credits for those different options are a bit different. For dissertation, it's 12 credits. And for capstone, it's 6 credits. Therefore, if you choose dissertation or capstone, you may need to finish different course requirements. If you select the dissertation option, then you only need to finish the 8 core courses. Then you will meet the graduation requirements for the program. And if you choose the capstone, because capstone is 6 credits, then you need to select the 8 core courses and 1 more elective course to meet the requirements. So that's the only difference. If you choose capstone, then there is 1 more elective course that you need to take. And here listed some basic courses, and you will find the full list of the courses available in our website. Yeah, we have 8 core courses, each for 6 credits. So please note, there is a major change. We used to have courses in the afternoon of weekdays, but from next year, we will move those courses to the evenings of the weekdays. Okay, so normally from 6:30 to 9:30, and normally each lecture will last for 3 hours per week. For dissertation, it is worth 12 credits, and you will have around 8 months to finish this project, normally from November to the end of June next year. And we will have a supervisor-supervisee meeting at the beginning of November. So you will have the chances to talk with different faculty members, and you will also be able to select or list potential supervisors for selection. And after you determine your own supervisor, you will be able to start a dissertation project. For capstone, it's a bit easier. It will only start from the 2nd semester. So for the semester, you don't have to really worry about it. So we have 2 semesters in each academic year. Semester 1 is from September to December, and semester 2 is from January to May. So it's only for teaching time. So after, I think around the beginning of May, you should finish off the courses. So you will have about 1.5 months for your thesis or your capstone project after finishing all of the courses. Yeah, so depending on whether you choose dissertation or capstone, and whether you choose the full-time or part-time mode, there will be 4 different options. So for dissertation plus full-time mode, you need to complete it in 1 academic year. And for each semester, you need to finish 4 core courses. And the dissertation will be throughout the academic year from November to June. And the deadline for submission is end of June next year. For dissertation part-time, you will have 2 years to finish the program. For the first year, you need to finish 5 courses, 2 to 3 courses for each semester. And for second year, you will only need to finish 3 courses. And the dissertation will only start from the second year. So you will have more time because you only have 3 courses, right? And also you will have 8 months to finish your thesis. For non-dissertation option, but full-time, you will also need to finish it in 1 year. The only difference is that you do not have to do the dissertation, the empirical study. Instead, you will finish the capstone project and you will finish one more elective course in semester 1. For non-dissertation part-time mode, it's kind of similar. The only difference is that you need to finish the capstone project and there will be one more elective course for the first year. Okay. So yeah, that's it for the basic information of this program. And this is a tuition fee for the program. You can also find the information on our webpage. Please note that the tuition fees remain to be confirmed from our university, but you will find the updated information also from our webpage. All right. So yeah, I have already introduced some basic information related to the program. Then a question is it really the program that you want? I cannot really give you a answer for this question because it really depends on your expectations. Uh, so if you want to pursue some programs in psychology and related fields, I would say this is really a good opportunity because after finishing the program, you will be eligible to apply for example, the master program in clinical psychology and educational psychology. And also, if you are interested in doing research in the future, to apply for example, MPhil and PhD students in our department or in other universities, you will also be eligible after finishing the program. But the further study is only part of the story. Different people have different expectations and requirements. I've talked to students in previous cohorts. Actually, different people really had different reasons for going into this program. Some students, they are only interested in psychology, so they are curious, so that's why they got into the program. And some students, they are from other countries and regions. They want to know more about Hong Kong and HKU, so they decided to apply for this. So yeah, different people have different reasons. You should think about whether this program can meet your requirements. And it should be also noted that this program is probably not easy for some students because, especially for full-time students, you need to finish everything in 1 year. It's actually not easy. It's actually a bit intense. And also, in addition to courses, as I mentioned, some of you may also do some like research projects in different labs that also requires time and effort. So it is always good to get prepared as soon as possible. Here are some pictures that we took from previous cohorts. As you can see, in addition to listening to the lecture, we also have like presentations and interactions between students and teachers. So it's quite, I would say, different components involved in this program. All right, I think that's it from my part. And next, we'll invite Dr. Henry Wu to give us a mock lecture to give you a general feeling about how our courses look like. So it should be noted that this mock lecture is shorter than the regular lecture that we give in the program. But hopefully you will get a general feeling about how our courses look like. Let's welcome Henry.
Hello, morning. How are you? Good. So, thank you, Yuan Wei, for giving us the logistics and basic information about enrolling in this program. So, yes, I think it would be good if now we can have not exactly a lecture, but maybe a soft introduction as to what you're expecting to do, or at the very least, what psychology is about. Now, first of all, a very important question here. How many psychologists do we have in this room? Okay. Now, my most liberal answer to this question is that we all are psychologists. Now, that pertains to what do psychologists do? Now, psychologists, what do they do? We are curious about human behavior. We are also curious about the mind of people, and therefore we want to study them. Now, you may have your grammar theory or layman theory or folk theory about how the mind works. For example, people's preference for a particular color could be telling something about their personality. Or maybe you have heard of the MBTI, okay, which is also another example of a layman explanation of how the mind works. Now, but of course, when you are enrolled in this program, you're going to learn something different. Okay. So, in addition to our shared curiosity of how human behavior happens and how the mind works, we also want to ensure that the way we make certain claims about these are well supported by our observations of people, not just casual observations, but instead more systematic observation. And therefore, as you just heard from Yuan Wei, yeah, we do have methods course to ensure that you are well equipped with that part. And of course, we also have a lot of theory courses so that you know, like in the past 100 and so years, how psychologists have been transforming the landscape of psychological theorizing. And here, I think I want to, if I only have this limited amount of time, the thing that I want to introduce to you about psychology is how do we construct our realities? I think the question itself is already quite provoking because many people used to think that there is a single absolute reality out there that affects us. But the fact is, numerous psychological studies are suggesting the otherwise. Now, first of all, I'm showing you an eyeball here. Okay, it's very round. Okay, and it's like the head of a bald man without hair. And when you see, look at this eyeball. Let's see, there is an absolute reality that is referred to as the candle here. Okay. Now we tend to think that this is a absolute object outside, and when the light reflects from this or emitted from this candle, okay, how are we going to see it? We can only see it when the light is projected through our lens onto our retina. And then when it hits those chemistry or chemicals in our retina, it's going to elicit some neurological responses. And thereby our brain is going to interpret the neural signals so that we come to get a conclusion that, hey, I see something emitting lights out there. Okay. But when you come to think about it, this three-dimensional object, when it passes through our lens and hit our retina, there is a lot of transformations going on here. First of all, this image being projected here is a two-dimensional surface. Okay, it's no longer three-dimensional, right? But then this candle is three-dimensional. You can actually touch it, but this image is two-dimensional. And yet, when our brain interprets and projected image like this, most of us never will have a problem saying that, hey, this is a two-dimensional, this is like a picture of a candle inside of a real candle. No, we don't have the problem. Even though the image has been projected on a two-dimensional plane, we still have no problem of perceiving it as a three-dimensional object. Now, that's one thing, how we create our reality. And the second one is that you see by some lens physics, when this image is projected, the projected image will actually be inverted. And yet our brain has this clever mechanism to say that, well, we can actually invert it in an autonomous way. So that's another way we construct our reality. So what I'm trying to say here is that seeing things, perceiving things are very active processes in our brain. Okay. And that's one of the most amazing things I see in psychology. And this is not only seen in studies about visual perception, it is also seen in many other fields like social psychology, how we perceive each other's behavior, how we attribute the course of other behavior, as well as in many other uh, fields as well. Now, here's a picture, of course. Could you tell me what you are seeing from this picture in the first instance? A rat. How many of you saw a rat instantly? Okay. How many of you saw a bald man wearing glasses? All right. So this is another example, oops, of how we construct our reality. Okay. So this is what we call an ambiguous image that could be interpreted in multiple ways. Now, actually, in the previous slide, I tried to prime you to see a boatman instead of a rat. Okay. In describing this eyeball, I said that it is very round, like the head of a boatman. Okay. And I was trying to activate or implant some information in your head to try to prompt you to see with a high likelihood that, hey, I'm going to see a boatman. But regardless of the success of this priming procedure, yeah, we can choose to interpret the same image in alternate ways. We can never simultaneously perceive both the boatman and the mouse at the same time because we have to choose. There is almost like a gate that we need, hey, this way goes to the boatman and the other way goes to the mouse. So this is just another example showing how active our mind is involved when it comes to perceiving something outside of us, how we construct our reality, that is. Another example here, if you consider the figure in the middle of this picture, what are the alternative ways that you can interpret that? If you read from top to bottom, probably you will read the number 13. But if you read from left to right, probably you will see the letter B, right? Now, this shows another property of our perception, how our perception works, which is our perception is affected by the surrounding environment. Not only is our brain actively involved in constructing a reality ourselves, but our brain is also taking in outside information that will actually eventually affect how the result. Now, I hope you do appreciate one thing here. This thing has remained the same all the time. But depending on the environment, it could actually be interpreted in multiple ways. So this is just how important our brain is in taking in outside information to form its reality, to construct its reality. Have you seen this picture before? All right. So what color do you see? How many of you see blue and black? How many of you see white and gold like me? White and gold. Okay. Now, usually people seeing white and gold are fewer. Okay. Most people will be seeing black and blue. Okay. So in case you are very confused, in case you have not seen this phenomenon before, yes, if you are a blue and black viewer, yes, some people like me do see white and gold. Okay. And they're not like confusing white and gold. They are clear white and gold to me, okay, and to some others who just raised their hands. So yeah. So again, this just shows how our perceptual system could be very different from each other, and therefore, going back to our very original idea about realities, is there really a absolute reality out there? It's actually very hard to say. Even when we describe a color or describe a dress that is sitting out there, people's interpretation of color labels or even for the same dress reflecting the same amount of light could be interpreted very differently from each other. I think this is very important because we're in a age when we focus a lot on diversity, people coming from different backgrounds, holding very different views from each other. And I think psychology does give us a lot of insights with these simple demonstrations that just how different people can be, even when they are looking at the same thing. I like this one. Okay, so what do we see here? How many people do we see in this picture? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're hiking, right? Okay. Now I'm going to show you something. Some PowerPoint magic. Now, if you compare the person in the middle with the checker patterned shirt, okay? Now, we don't see a problem with the size of this person when we're just wearing this in this way. But when we use the PowerPoint magic to move this person and side by side with this one with a red backpack, we immediately see a problem. This person has become very small. Now, the size has never changed, but why would it not be a problem when the checker shirt person is placed out there instead of nearby the backpacker at the back? He's not smaller. We have chose to perceive something else. We have chose to perceive distance. He's just farther away from us. But then going back to our very first slide about how the eyeball works, image-wise, the size, the image of, oops, the image of this person's projected upon our retina is really smaller. But our brain is clever enough not to perceive it as smaller, but instead it is farther away from us. Now, this is very important. Why is this important? Consider, say, there is a hungry lion sitting across the room, okay, looking at me, okay, this lion. So I will be like looking at this lion, and then I suddenly realize, hey, this lion is actually growing bigger and bigger. Okay. Now, if I perceive the lion as growing bigger instead of coming towards me, I will be his lunch, right? If I just perceive it is growing bigger instead of perceiving it as coming towards me, then I will be in trouble. Now, this is just how flexible our mind works, because our mind may not work in a very literal sense that allows us to get the most accurate perception. The image is smaller and therefore that object must be smaller. No, our mind is more complex than that. Okay. Being able to perceive things of different distance from us is far more useful than just perceiving them as larger or smaller. Okay. So this is just showing how our mind is actively involved in these instances. So remember, seeing is more than the eyes, the brain. Now, I've used loosely the term of mind previously, but yeah, we now have learned a lot about how the mind works, and a lot of them, their functions will actually be seated in the brain. Of course, there's a part that is called the bottom-up process. We still need an inlet so that we take in information before we can perceive something. But the fact is, sometimes even without any outputs from the outside, we can still see things. We can still hear things, such as when we have hallucinations, when we have delusionary thoughts, when we have paranoia. So for those instances, sometimes our brain may just, because of some unknown reasons or known reasons, they just activate and therefore we see things and therefore we hear things. But yeah, in most instances, we do rely on a bottom-up process so that we have something to work on, so that we have a thing, we have an object, we have an objective to perceive. At the same time, there is also a top-down process where we take in the contextual information, where we perceive three-dimensional information from two-dimensional images, and yet we can also perceive complete information from incomplete input. Now, this is what we call the Gestalt principles of perception. Okay? When we see, when we see dots like this, we tend to effectively perceive them as 4 rows of dots instead of 5 columns of dots because of similarities. Okay? And proximity, things that are closer to each other, we tend to perceive them as together. Continuity, we automatically fill in the gaps here such that we do not see 4 short segments of dots, but instead we tend to see 2 longer segments of strings because this is more effective in terms of perception. And also for this, okay, we want to call this a circle and this one as a square instead of something with a broken opening or something like that. Okay. Now, if you're not convinced by how amazing this is, I'm going to do a magic with you right now. Now here, this is a real magic, remember. Okay. Now here, I'm a person here. Do you agree that I'm a person here, a real person? Okay. Now I'm going to make my lower half body disappear. Okay, right now, right here. Okay, do you want to see this magic? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Now, do you agree that you no longer see the lower half of my body? Yes, image-wise, you do not see that anymore. But do you still do you perceive me as an incomplete person because of the blockage of the image? Now, of course, this may sound rather foolish, but it is the foolishness of this demonstration that shows exactly how important, how capable our mind is. Our mind immediately fill in the lost information, right? So although image-wise, you no longer see some body parts of me anymore, but your mind automatically fills in the gap, okay? So our mind is very good at doing things like this. Yeah. Do you want some more magic? All right, now here are 6 cards. Please choose one that you like most. And remember this card. Remember this card. Remember it with much effort. Okay, stare at it. Because I'm going to make it disappear. Okay? Now, your card is going to disappear. 1, 2, and 3. Ta-da. You no longer see your card, right? I'm very sure about that. So this is a magic, right? Of course, yeah, when we see things like this, we can have, again, we can construct our reality in multiple ways. We can have different explanations. First of all, you may say, oh, psychology, okay, is going to teach me magic, okay, and therefore I'm going to make a card disappear, okay? But remember, yeah, we are in a university kind of environment, academic environment. We actually prefer to have more careful speculation when it comes to miracles like this. Now, perhaps some of you have already figured out how the magic works. How is it possible that the card held by all the people in this room having disappeared? How is that possible? They are completely different sets of cards. Okay, they're completely different. They just look similar, but actually they're completely different. That means that I have removed all the cards from here and just replaced them with some of the cards. But then how is it relevant to how the mind works? Because our mind has very limited resources. Our mind cannot take in all the information and hold them intactly all the time. And therefore, when I prompted you to remember just one of the cards, your perception would be like, there's one card that I'm going to remember. For the other cards, I don't quite care. And therefore, when I change the deck of the card, you are not aware, you were not aware of how much change has happened at the outside because we have only very limited resource in our consciousness. A lot of the things we left it to the unconscious, or even we are not aware of what has happened outside. Another demonstration here. I bet you all know about the board game Monopoly, right? You know, for a very long time, there was this mascot of the board game with an old man in a suit, okay, in the old fashion to represent the game. Now, here's a question. Does this man has a name, okay? The Monopoly name, man. Does he wear a monocle? A half version of the glasses? Does he wear one? How many of you say yes? Yes. How many of you say no? All right. How many of you are not sure? All right. Very good. Okay. Now, maybe you would be more decisive if you see the two images. Now, which one looks more right to you? Now that I show you both versions of them, one with a monocle, the other one without monocle. The one without monocle sounds more right. Yes, look at that. Okay. Now, someone has coined the term the Mandela effect to describe this. Now, why is this demonstration relevant again? Because I think a lot of us have seen this image before, but we never stored every single detail of the image, such that we need to remember whether he wears a monocle or not, what kind of pants he will be wearing, or what kind of hats. We just have a very vague image of what this person would be like, but we never store them. Okay? Because remember, our mind has very limited resources. We just could not be bordered enough. Now, the last demonstration here. Say there is a flu epidemic in a village, and you're responsible for the vaccination program to fight against this epidemic. Now, say your village has 600 people, and if vaccine, you're choosing between vaccine A and B. Now, here are the prospects of these two vaccines. If vaccine A is adopted, then 200 people in this village out of 600 will be saved, meaning that the other 400 would be dead. And then for the second one, if vaccine B is adopted, then there is a 1/3 of a chance that all people will be saved, but 2/3 of a chance that no one will be saved. Now, in this scenario, which vaccine do you find more appealing? A or B? How many of you find A more appealing? Okay. How many of you find B more appealing? All right, we have more A than B. Now, if we consider the scenario a bit differently like this, the same village, the same epidemic, the same number of people, but now we have C and D. If C is adopted, 400 people will die. If vaccine D is adopted, then 1/3 of a chance that no one will die, and then 2/3 of a chance that all 600 people will die. Okay. So now we have two different vaccines, right? So which one sounds more right to you, C or D? How many of you will pick C? How many of you will pick D? This time we have more Ds than Cs. And I want you to note that vaccine A is actually the same as vaccine C. And vaccine B is actually kind of the same as vaccine D. So how are A and B different? Okay, A and B are different by the uncertainty involved. In vaccine A, okay, it gives you a certain prospect, whereas for vaccine B, it gives you a uncertainty factor there. Okay. And the funny thing is that when we are in a case of losing something, like people dying, people usually would be more risk-taking. And therefore, more people will be opting for the uncertainty option here. Okay. Again, another demonstration of the fact that even with the same choices, we still perceive them differently based on how differently they are framed in the scenario. Okay. So So I guess my lecture is about to end here. So what I want to conclude here is that the human mind is active, it is flexible, it adapts to the environment, and our mind is not necessarily rational. Right? Our mind is very different from a rational computer that base its decisions solely on computation. No, our mind is more than that. Okay, because we can be easily swayed by how the scenario is framed outside. And of course, psychology is not only about the demonstrations that I showed you here. Now, here are some interesting questions that I want to share with you as to how psychologists seek to answer. For example, what is the biological basis of psychological disorders? Yes, we do have courses answering a question like this. How do people benefit psychologically from the natural environment? Okay, now this is a field called environmental psychology, which we are not having in this program. We are not offering in this program, but I happen to be doing something on research on this one. Okay, so I think this is a very exciting topic to work on in a world when we talk a lot about sustainability and climate change. How many personality dimensions are there? All right. How to describe people's personality? How much do nature and nurture factors contribute to child development? I think this is particularly relevant if you are parents or if you're teachers that you work with children. So this is a question that would give you insights as parents and educators. Does exposure to violent TV games lead to aggression? Okay. And there are many more. I'm just giving a very brief account of the questions that I have found are really exciting. But of course, if you join our program, we have faculty members of all over different expertise. And then, yeah, you will have many, many more choices to explore questions beyond this list. Right? So how to think like a psychologist, take an ecological perspective. We do consider multiple factors. Although we study the mind, but we are not just focused on the mind, but we also focus on a lot of factors. And statistical thinking, and also remember that psychology is a hub science that we consider multiple expertise in studying our subjects. Okay. So thank you very much. If you have any questions concerning this very brief introduction, you're always welcome to write to me. My name is Henry, and I think that's the end of this mock lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Henry. The mock lecture is short, but very comprehensive. It covered like basic perceptions and also high order decision making. Hopefully, it helped you, it provided you a better understanding about how psychologists are doing our research. Thank you. Yep. And I'd like to say a few more words about the application because there are some changes this year. Previously, we only have one round of application, but this year, from next, the application is already open. So from this time, we will have two rounds of application. The May round will start from September to December, and the deadline for submission for this round is the 1st of December. Okay, and we also have the second round. The deadline for round 2 is the 2nd of February next year. So I would strongly encourage you to apply in the May round if possible, because our evaluation will be a rolling basis. So it means if you apply in the May round, you probably will have more chances to get into the program. And also if we have received enough good applications in the May round, probably we will only accept few students in the second round. So please apply in the first round if possible, and please get prepared as early as possible. And also, I suggest you don't submit your materials until the last day of the application, because normally the system will be very busy at that time, because you need to submit the materials via our HKU submission system. It's not only for our program, but also for other programs, including our PhD programs. And the deadline for the May round of the PhD application is also the 1st of December. So trying to avoid that date, trying to submit a few days at least before the deadline, okay? And you can find the information also from our webpage. So to submit the application materials, you need to use our HKU submission system. If you do not have an account yet, you may need to create one using your email account. And after receiving the email confirmation, you should be able to upload the materials online. The interface looks like this. So you have you will be asked to upload different materials. Okay. And also we have some general requirements for this program. So basically, you need to have a bachelor's degree. It doesn't have to be a psychology degree. So a degree from other topics are also welcome. And in HKU, we have general language requirements. If you did your bachelor in other languages, then there are some general requirements for English, okay? Because the courses will be taught in English. And for work experience, it's not necessary. It is probably preferable, but we do accept both students with and without work experience. All right. Yeah, as I just mentioned, we have 2 rounds of application. If you apply in the May round, probably some of you will get a conditional offer or some results in November or December. We'll try to give you the results as soon as possible, as early as possible. And also, if you apply in second round, probably you will receive the results at the end of February next year. And for teaching, the first teaching day will be September 1st next year. And normally from Monday to Thursday, as we just mentioned. From next year, the courses will move to evenings from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. So they are no longer in the afternoon, although some tutorials may be still arranged in the daytime, but the lectures will be moved to the evenings. Yeah, and for applications, normally we will just evaluate your application materials. So that means the interview is generally not required for most of you, but for some special cases, we may still call an interview. Okay. Yeah, and this is a figure that from a previous survey. We did a graduate employment survey in 2023. So I would say the data look good because most of our graduate students or employed or are doing further studies. But this is only the information from our side. We also want to share the information from the other side, from our student. So that's why we invited one of our alumni, Mr. Dicky Mark. Dicky did his study in our program like 2 years ago, and he has already graduated now. He will share some of his stories and experience. Let's welcome Dicky.
All right. Yeah, thanks for having me. First of all, I'm really grateful to be here. I really appreciate the invitation. I'm Dickie Mock, and I just want to share a few of my experiences during this program. So, a little bit of an agenda. I was asked to introduce myself, so I'll do that. And also talk about why I chose the program. Maybe that's helpful. And also talk about my classmates because um, I wonder if you're anything like myself, there might be some people here are wondering, is this program really for me? I'm kind of a, and I think maybe it'd be helpful to talk about who some of my classmates were, and maybe that can answer some questions you have. And ooh, okay, okay, great. And if I just some, I don't know if you want to call them tips and tricks, but just things that you might find helpful. So there we go. There we go. So a little bit about me. I've kind of got a weird background, so maybe I'll just go through this quickly. Um, so as Dr. Yao mentioned, I started the program in 2 years ago, and I just completed it this summer. I did it part-time, which is I found really helpful for myself because it is quite intense. It's quite a lot to cover in a full-time program. I actually trained as a counselor before that, so I did the Master of Counseling in 2022, 2021 to 2022. And just in terms of what I'm interested in mindfulness and clinical practice, and also the kind of intersection between Buddhist psychology and kind of modern psychology. Prior to working as a counselor, which I started a few years ago, I worked as a lawyer in Hong Kong for a little bit over a decade. And currently, what I do is I split my time between doing some counseling work, and I also teach at the Faculty of Law at Hong Kong U and also City U. And I also teach mindfulness and do a bit of studying. So on that point, I couldn't get enough. So after I finished my master's in psychology, I decided to start a master's in Buddhism just a few weeks ago. So I'm doing that now, which is great. Um, why did I decide on the master's in psychology at Hong Kong U? I think just, more personal reasons are that, although I trained as a counselor, I always felt there was a little bit, like quite a lot more to learn about psychology. I found myself always thinking like, oh, do I really understand this stuff? So, I think I thought it'd be helpful to actually learn a little bit more about psychology, and I think that has been helpful. I think more practically, I never really had any specific ideas about what I wanted to do afterwards, but I knew that maybe having this program opened up some opportunities afterwards, like graduate programs, as Dr. Yao mentioned, um, graduate research, PhD, professional programs like the clinical psychology program, other kind of professional opportunities and research opportunities too. So I thought that would potentially be helpful. And I had been interested in mindfulness practice for a number of years and trained as a mindfulness teacher. And I really felt like doing a bit of mindfulness related research. And I thought that a master's level dissertation would be kind of a good avenue to do that. And I'm glad I did that. Um, and I guess finally, as far as Hong Kong U in particular, I'm familiar with Hong Kong U from teaching here a few years, and I really like the environment. And I appreciate the academic kind of community here, and it just felt really natural to study here also. Who are my classmates? And I have to be really honest, I think my classmates were the best part of my program. I met some of the most amazing people through this program. And I think we come from if there's anyone wondering like, is this program for me, then basically we came from everywhere. So I wasn't the only lawyer. I think there were 5 or 6 lawyers in my class. I think that was a bit of an outlier, but there's certainly a good number of us. Actually, really interestingly, one of my very best friends from this program were actually law school classmates 15 years ago. So we saw each other in our first class. I was like, oh my gosh, I remember this guy. Yeah, so that was great. You don't know who you'll meet here. There's some consultants, finance professionals, XI bankers, people with science backgrounds who want to learn more about psychology. There was even like a pilot, at least one pilot, who found time to attend the courses between flights to the UK, which I found pretty amazing. And um, and like marketing, HR professionals, thought psychology obviously very helpful there. And as Dr. Yu mentioned, there's also psychology undergrads who took this program for different reasons. And we had fresh grads, experienced professionals, old people like me, and everywhere in between. So I think, this program it really is for everyone, and everyone does it for their own reasons. What are my classmates doing now? I think if I'm really honest, I didn't really take a poll or anything. I basically WhatsApped a few of my friends. I was like, hey, what are you guys doing now? A few of them are doing further studies. So I think a couple of them recently started PhD programs in the US and the Netherlands, probably elsewhere also. I think a couple of my classmates, they've started the clinical psychology program at Hong Kong U this year. I know a couple others have decided to move on to do a Masters of Counseling at Hong Kong U and elsewhere, or a Masters in Counseling Psychology. So I'd say maybe a dozen of my classmates have gone on to do further studies in kind of psychology related areas. A couple of them have had some counseling experience already and moved on doing counseling work. A couple of them have people heard of Mind HK? So it's an organization in Hong Kong that advocates for mental health, and they've got what's called the gosh, I can't remember what PWP stands for. Sorry, you might have to Google it, but they have a program where they train kind of like basically counselors, well-being professionals, and a couple of my friends have done that. Um, some have moved on to working in counseling in private practice or in school settings, so school counseling. And a couple have actually done a little bit of work in assessment and psychometrician as kind of doing kind of assessments for kids and adults. So, and of course, there's also a lot of opportunities to do research afterwards. So one person I know is working at the HKU Center on Aging. Another one of my classmates been working at the IDPC lab, so the Individual Differences and Process of Change lab. Oh my gosh, I remembered that. At Hong Kong U, and that's been really interesting. Like she tells me that they've been doing a research project at prisons in Hong Kong. That sounds like a really interesting project, and a bunch of others too. So that I think if you're interested in doing research afterwards, there's a lot of opportunities at Hong Kong U and elsewhere to do that. And one of my friends actually started an AI chatbot for mental health, and people have done quite a lot of interesting things in the mental health space. And of course, probably the bulk of my classmates, I'm guessing, go back to the original careers. Like they took this program because they wanted to learn a little bit more about psychology and how it might help them. So that's what they've chosen to do. So they've gone back to what they were doing, but maybe with some more skills, with a bit more of a perspective on things. Tips, tricks, and things to consider. Just three. So I'll talk more about these, but keep an open mind. Be open to research opportunities and other activities. This is during your program. And maybe on a more practical level, if you do choose to do a dissertation, then start thinking about it early because that can be really helpful too. So keep an open mind. I think this is a really big one. Um, you might come into the program if you're thinking about doing the program, you might approach it with some idea of what you want to do and achieve. You might be thinking, I want to do this program because I can do X, Y, Z afterwards, or you're interested in a certain area, and that's really helpful, obviously. But there's really a lot to learn and experience in this program. As Dr. Yao mentioned, it's sort of a psychology program for non-psych grad. So you do cover the whole gamut of psychology courses. And you might find that you're interested in some topics that you weren't expecting to. So um, just for myself, I knew I was interested in counseling and kind of clinical psychology. So I thought that's what I'd be most interested in, psychopathology, maybe developmental psychology. I work a lot with people with neurodevelopmental differences, so I thought that'd be really helpful. But it turned out I was really interested in cognitive psychology. How does the brain work? And also personality psychology, and I was really interested in quantitative research too. So really grateful I was able to do those courses. Coincidentally, courses that are taught by Dr. Yao and Dr. Henry. So that's great. Yeah. So just you never know what you're gonna be interested in. So just keep an open mind. Um, there's a lot of opportunities to do fun kind of research. You're going to be really busy, obviously, if you're doing this program full time, but there's really great opportunities to get involved in different types of research. And I just want to mention there's so many more, but I just wanted to mention a couple that I was involved in. So I was a research intern at JC Panda. So that's the Jockey Club Peace and Awareness, Mindfulness and Culture in Schools initiative. It's really long, but basically it's a program, it's an initiative at Hong Kong U that aims to promote mindfulness culture in schools. And they take it's basically based on the mindfulness in schools project. So they take a train the trainer approach. You know, they have a team of educational psychologists and they train teachers on mindfulness and with the hope of introducing that they can introduce mindfulness into the schools. And there's been a pretty long term, it's been going on for a few years now, kind of longitudinal research project to kind of see the results of these initiatives. And yeah, it was really great. You get to be involved in a lot of different aspects of the initiatives work, from research to data collection. So actually going to schools and collecting data from students, to being involved in organizing events and workshops. So I found that to be a really good experience, especially since I was interested in mindfulness myself. And this is actually something I've recently been involved in. So I started working as a clinical volunteer at the Pandem Lab. So that's the lab headed by Dr. Francis Jen. So I'm assisting in a project related to anxiety and how anxiety changes our decision making and other kind of processes. So basically, I'm helping to conduct clinical assessments and assisting with behavioral tasks for participants. So yeah, but there's tons and tons. And when you join the program and you get added to the mailing list for the different schools, you'll find there's so many opportunities to be involved in research projects, and they can be really, really rewarding to actually see how the sausage is made, see how the work is actually done. Yeah, so I would really encourage people to to consider being involved in those too. And finally, if you're thinking about doing a dissertation, I would really encourage thinking about it early. Um, I think obviously it's really obviously there's a lot of courses you have to take, but this is your opportunity to perform some really original research in the area and especially an area that you find meaningful, that is important to you. Because for the other courses, you kind of just have to learn what you're given, but your dissertation, you get to really shape that yourself. So putting some thought into what you find interesting and what you find meaningful is really worthwhile. And I think more practically, things do change. I had a really strong ideas about what I wanted to do, and then I had to completely change it kind of halfway through kind of like like in February, so like halfway through the process, because maybe the idea you did have isn't really that practical, or you have to change some ideas. So thinking about it early really gives you a chance to make sure the idea you have is sound, and gives you a chance to kind of change it when you still have time. And ultimately, it's a marathon, not a sprint. If you do a dissertation, as Dr. Yao mentioned, it is a quantitative. You're expected to do some quantitative research. So data collection takes time, analysis takes time, and of course, writing the report, putting it all together into a thesis takes time. So yeah, it's worthwhile to get started early. But that's all I had for me, and thank you and for having me. And hope it was helpful.
Thank you very much, Dicky, for the sharing. And I fully agree. If you choose a dissertation object, it's always good to get prepared as early as possible, because you need to design a research project. You need to come up with an idea and perform the data analysis. Doing the data analysis, and finally, you need to write a paper based on that. So all of these steps take time. So it's always good to get prepared early. Yeah, so I think that's it from our side. So For most of the common questions, we have already listed them on our webpage. And now we can open the floor to the audience. If you have questions, feel free to ask us. Please raise your hand if you have questions. Yes, please.
First of all, thank you so much for having this information seminar. It's really helpful to understand this program. So my question is actually, Dicky mentioned, there's also a master in counseling in Hong Kong U. So I really want to understand what's the difference between that program versus this program, and how should we choose between two of this? Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a good question. First of all, I think the priority of this program is not counseling. We have some component related to counseling or like clinical psychology. We have some courses, and you will also get opportunity to do an internship in some labs, focusing on clinical psychology. But we also have some other components like basic science, like cognitive psychology, biological psychology. So it's I would say it's more general for this program. And I'm not a I'm not a teacher in the Department of Social Work, because the program of counseling is by Department of Social Work. So probably I guess the focus of different programs are a bit different. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have a quick question on I think becoming, so if you want to become like a counselor eventually in Hong Kong, what's the requirement for in terms of degree and so forth?
Thank you. Yeah, I will only share what I know. Please feel free to add if you have additional information. So as far as I know, if you want to become a counselor or clinical psychologist, you may need to receive professional training. For example, as far as I know, if you want to become clinical psychologist, you need to take at least the program on clinical psychology. And if you are not from psychology program, for your bachelor's degree, you may need to take one like general psychology program before applying for the professional program. That's like a pre-requirement for applying for the professional master program in clinical psychology. Yes.
I just wonder if this is helpful for me to say a word about that. I think the straight up answer to that question is there's no legal requirement for any kind of licensing or registration to be a counselor in Hong Kong. Unlike in other jurisdictions, there are professional organizations. So the Hong Kong Professional Counseling Association, for instance, in order to join as a member or to be accredited by them, you need to have certain educational and also experience kind of related requirements. So if you want to join one of those organizations, you need to have some education, like a master's in counseling. And then for accreditation, you need to have a certain number of hours of contact hours. So you need to be able to show that. But yeah, I wonder if that helps. Yeah.
I think the practical experience is also very important.
I've got two questions actually. I want to know what's the department's current focus on, like in terms of research, and also if I intend to apply for the master's in clinical psychology, would you recommend us doing the dissertation option? Would that be more helpful?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, very good question. First question, what are the research focuses of our department? I don't think we have one single research focus. The different researchers, different professors, they are studying quite different topics. For example, I'm studying like decision making and internet psychology, including problematic internet use, also called internet addiction. So it's rather basic. And we also have some colleagues who are doing like educational psychology. So they are studying like students in like high schools. They cooperate with like researchers there. And we also have colleagues who are doing like clinical psychology research. So we really have different research focuses in our department. Second question, if you want to apply for the master program in clinical psychology, is it necessary to do, or it is recommended to do this program? I can only say, because I do not know other clinical psychology programs, but in our department, if you are not from like a psychology background, then and you want to apply for a clinical psychology master program, then doing a master program with dissertation option is required. Right, dissertation, because the empirical study experience is required for that program. Yeah, maybe I take some time to answer the questions online. So first question, how many students are you taking for part-time and full-time this year? I think the total number is about yeah. For full-time, how many? Okay, yeah, probably will. Yeah, for current year, we have 30 students, full-time students, and about 10 part-time students. For next year, we will probably accept more students, I guess. Yeah. Next question. The targets. Yeah, I think we have different criteria. So basically, if your background, if you are from a good university and you have great like academic records, then I think you will be very likely to get in. But that's not the only criteria. We will also assess other like components. For example, your previous topics, your work experience, things like this, because we want to make our program rather heterogeneous. As Dicky mentioned, we really have students from different backgrounds, and we do not only want to accept students from only one subject or region in this program. Yes, actually, research opportunity, I think that is really an advantage of doing this program, because as I just mentioned, courses are only part of the program, especially for those who have already had a bachelor's degree in psychology. Probably some courses are similar to what you did before. But if you get in this program, you will be able to do research with different labs in our department. And also you will have resources in HKU. I think that would be really advantage. Yeah, but for research internship or research assistant, you need to really contact the professors that you want to work with. So there is no, that is not required in this program. Only the dissertation and capstone project is required. But you can also choose to do some other like research internships in different labs. Dissertation, as it always requires students to collect data. Yes, I think that's possible, right, Henry? Because some of your students also work on like secondary data or so-called database. So it means if you do not want to perform a completely new study. And it's also possible to work on some secondary data or database for your dissertation. The thing is that it has to be empirical. So the pure literature review is not enough for the dissertation project. Okay. Yeah, then I will answer this one. Students with. Yes, you can apply for the exemption if you have done similar courses before. And the teacher for the course will do the evaluation case by case. If you got the exemption, then you will be able to do an elective course or an RPG seminar instead. To mention topics. Yeah, I think it's up to you. I cannot tell you how to write your own like research proposal or a personal statement. If you think that would be helpful, then you can include your research interest in your personal statements. But I guess that is not necessary, especially for those who do not have any experience with psychology before. Maybe we can take some questions from the audience here. Any more questions?
First of all, thank you, Professor Wu and Vicky, time and sharing. I would like to ask, as a person, I'm trying to do a career change. So I have not had very much orientation or knowing where to from here. Given that is the case, would you advise doing part-time or doing full-time? Which one might give me enough time to explore and keep my mind open for different directions to come?
Thank you. Yeah, so the question is, if you are not sure which one is better, part-time or full-time, I think, yeah, first of all, I think this program gives you a lot of space for exploration, especially in HKU, not only in our department. It also gives you the chance to interact with students and professors in other departments. Regarding the study mood, I don't think I can give you an answer here. What I can say is that full-time is more intense because you need to finish everything in 1 year, especially if you choose the dissertation project. It could be quite a bit challenging, I would say, because you need to finish the dissertation from the research idea to writing your thesis. So it's really time consuming. And for part-time, you probably have more time for other issues. And if you have other, probably, I think it really depends, depending on your current workload and your interest and your time that you can spend on this project. And probably Dicky, could you share a bit why you choose part-time for this program?
Yeah, happy to share that. I think just echoing Dr. Yao, it's really hard to say which one is better because it really depends on your own context and your own situation. And I think I took the program part-time, and I'm really grateful that I did, and it worked for me because it gave me a lot more time to kind of explore the topics. You know, I really just practically for myself, I got a whole year to do the quantitative research courses and learn about that because I don't have a statistics background before I thought about the dissertation, which is, you know, quantitative. And I felt for myself, at least, if I was going to do that in parallel, it'd be really challenging. and I felt I was a lot more prepared because I had more time to do the courses I did, and at the same time, work and have my practice and everything. But that's not the case for everyone. Like I have, most of my classmates did it full time and they did extremely well. And maybe for them, doing it more intensely and, getting back out more quickly is more helpful to them. But for myself, I was really grateful to have the extra time, the extra space, and the extra time to process everything. Yeah, that was really helpful for me.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so most students, they are still full-time as Dicky mentioned. But if you are not sure and if you want to spend more time for exploration, probably part-time is also an option. Well,
The question is because I put time, so taking like so in terms of attendance, travel, and I do like attendance for some of the or like
as far as I know, so first of all, you need to talk to the courses, the teachers for the courses. So, but as far as I know, not all courses provide the Zoom option. Some do, yes. Yeah, you need to talk to the teachers and say if the attendance is required. For my course, what I can say is that usually the recording is not available, but the attendance is also not necessary. So you can do self-study. Is it clear? Yeah. So basically, if you like, you can do self-study. Yeah. But normally, because we want to encourage you to attend the lecture in person, so we do not provide the recording. But the research methods, yes, for second semester, and that's a concourse, so you have to take that if you get in.
Thank you for sharing. And I have a question, especially regarding the Social Work Institute, like HMI. I believe it's mentioned in Vicky's slides page. So I went through their website like 1 year ago, and they set a pretty high bar for the admission, like the educational background, especially like the fields of psychology or clinical psychology. About that. So I'm wondering that my main motivation to get involved in this program is like doing afterward. So I'm wondering whether this program is enough for that, or do I need another one like clinical psychology after that?
Thank you very much. So I cannot really comment too much on that because I'm not a member in that organization. I guess finishing this program could be a bonus for application after, for example, if you want to get in that project, because the reputation of HKU psychology, I think is highly accepted in the field. But probably that's not enough. Yeah, so I guess they will also do the evaluation on rolling basis and case by case. So probably more experience is better. And I think the one thing is that during this period of time, you have plenty of time for exploration and for doing different research projects and practical projects, so that you will get more research and practical experiences, which will be really helpful, I guess.
Since Dicky mentioned that one of his classmates went there, yeah, so I'm wondering whether that classmate was from this general psychology program or the special, clinical psychology program. Thank you.
She or he? Oh, okay. Yeah, so they are from this program. Okay. And are they from the like psychological background in their like bachelor's degree? Okay. Excellent. Any other questions?
Hello. Can we pick some topics that are certain topics that are of the compulsory course on the dissertation? Can we pick certain topics out of compulsory courses, such as educational science, psychology, for the dissertation?
The question, if I understand correctly, is can we choose topics for the compulsory courses? Dissertation, okay. Dissertation, yes, you can choose the topic that you like, but that also depends on the supervisor, yes. Sometimes because each supervisor have their own limit of quotas. So that means if, for example, I have 5 quotas, if I already have 5 students, I cannot accept the 6th one. So that means if you want to do a research under my supervision, and you are the 6th student, then you may have to go to another lab because I have already used up my quotas. So yeah, it depends on your supervisor and your research interest. The ideal case is that you find a supervisor you are interested in your research interest, but sometimes you may need to make some modifications. Mm-hmm. Other questions? Yeah, and any other questions from online? No, I don't think so, right? Mm. The second question is oh yes, the dissertation will be supervised by a faculty member. So you need to, we will have a so-called supervisor and supervisee meeting in which you can have the chances to talk to different faculty members. And after that, you will be able to list a few potential supervisors that you want to work with. And after the matching, you will be assigned to a specific faculty member so that you can work together on a dissertation that you are interested in. Elective courses, no, it might be different in different semester, I think.
Mostly the elective course will be offered in semester 1, while the capstone course will be offered in semester 2.
Thank you for sharing. I wonder if you've taken like courses before, are there like any like credit exemptions or like credit content? So say like if I've taken a course in the content, my exemption like or do I have to like still go again?
No, if you got the exemption, then you can apply either elective course or an RPG seminar course instead. You don't have to do the course that you are wrong. Yeah. You clear?
Do you have to pay the tuition fees for that? If you're exempt from like taking a course, because if I don't take a course, like I mean, like, cause I know like you have to pay tuition fees based on the credits, you know, or is it like charged on like a yearly basis? Thank you.
Yeah, but if, as far as I know, if you have already, for example, for full-time students who have selected dissertation project, and if you want to do more elective courses, you may need to pay more tuition fee. But in addition to that, it will not be influenced. Other questions? And more questions online have been, okay. Yeah, I think the recording of the seminar will be shared right after. Yeah. No local students apply for a job. I don't think that is right. Right. Yeah. I think the I think for most students, yeah, it's not allowed to work outside, but you. Yeah. So I think it's really case by case, and there seems to be some changes recently. So yeah. Okay. If now it's we submit private. Of course, yeah, we do not have any restrictions on your like referees. Yeah, you can choose anyone that you think suitable for your referee. Is it a must to stick? I think so, right? 2 referees are required. Any other questions from the audience? If not, I think we can conclude here. Thank you very much for coming. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you very much.